the collected essays. So welcome to this class, the collected essays of Joel S. Goldsmith. And it's a pamphlet that is maybe very familiar to you. You can say download it some places or order it some places. And it is a very fundamental pamphlet. And that's why I chose to use it too in this series, because it's actually a real good introduction pamphlet. If you had no idea what spirituality was in general, or how to look at this, then this would be the pamphlet to give to the ones. And so we're beginners today, which is always a very good attitude. Like, to become an original beginner, it is that you don't know anything about the subject, about the theme that is being presented. And so it would be great to have such an open mind as a beginner to start this class. So I'm actually always saying, like, it's a beginner's class. This is also a beginner's class. So you don't even have to pretend that you know much about the subject. No, it's about being completely open to receive what is being given to us in this moment. And you don't know what is going to be given to you in this moment. So we prepare ourselves a little bit for that. And that is, we did a bit of meditation just that half hour before this. And in this class, we start with relaxation, not going straight into the subject, so to speak, but opening ourselves up, so coming to the place where you start to become still. Like, okay, so are you really present here? That's in fact the question. Are you really present here? So put your phone aside, put your headphones up if there's too much noise in your surroundings, or whatever helps you to become completely present here in yourself, and not necessarily in relationship to this, but in yourself, become completely present. And that is a part of the practice. So I was looking at this, like, how is this going to be presented? I have no idea how to present the 7 steps of Joel S. Goldsmith in the collected essays. How do you present this? If you have been reading Joel's material for a long time, or heard maybe 600 of his talks, or who knows what you did. So how are you going to receive this? Because it's so fundamental. And then luckily I know that it's always a new beginning. And luckily I know that I can receive only, say, in this moment. What happened before, however great the experiences were in the past, they're over, they're gone, they're not here. So that is the practice that we do. We become present here. It's a real present memory that we are going to remember. A present memory. So it's not a past memory, it's a present memory. It's really happening in this moment as we speak. It is literally unfolding itself as we speak. So, and that is, okay, if we need words for that, they will be given too. So I might read the 7 principles or the 7 steps that Joel is talking about. See, in his introduction to that, he uses the words like spiritual understanding. And I've a bit of a difficulty with that word, because I don't live with the idea that understanding is necessary. The experiences, yes, are absolutely necessary. So the spiritual understanding that Joel actually wants from you is then the openness, maybe the familiarity with an idea that where you find yourself now and how you think about yourself might not be the reality of who you really are. See, now we get already into fundamental steps, fundamental principles that are actually given. So what helps us to see that what you perceive as a human being is not it? And how can you go beyond that? How can you discover what is really there instead of what you see, instead of what you hear? Even though that might look so real. So what actually does that? That we are continuously being mesmerized with everything around us. What is that? Who does that? So who is doing that? So this is a good question to ask, and so this is also part of this. It's like of this what Joel tries to transfer to us. What is it? Who is actually watching all of this? I'm watching this. I'm seeing these things. Even say in my daily life, I see things, and I'm mesmerized with what I see. I'm mesmerized with my perception, by my perception. I'm seeing things, and it has a specific reason that I see things, because I'm actually valuing them. I actually want to see them. That's why I see them. I value it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be seeing it. So when Joel starts with this first principle, with the idea of call no man on earth your father. It's like your father has nothing to do with any idea that you hold about your father. This is not your human father that we're talking about. So in order to come to a spiritual, quote-unquote, understanding, this is really an essential step. That's the first step. Like, call no man on earth your father. And this is a radical statement. Radical for a human mind. Make sure of that. So to make that, say, specific note regarding the fatherness. So for ones who are in meditation, who are in contact with the Christ in them, your father will never be confused with your earthly father. And that's not because you're so good at it. No, that's because God is literally the place where you come home, where you are completely at home in yourself. That's why this is a fundamental understanding, so to speak, in spirituality. Like, my homecoming is in my Father and is happening in me. That will be another part that we come to. But the first step is called no man on earth your father. It literally changes all the relationships that you have. Not just your father relationship. When you can also say, like, call no one on earth your family. Because it is like, no, that's the same idea. That's the same idea. It's like, no, that is based on a human idea of continuation, of, say, species, of genetics, of all these things that we started to differentiate, forgetting that we're all one, literally joined as one in the connectedness of the totality of who we are. There is no specification, there's no specialness in it, there's no sister, brother, father, mother, none of that. See, that is still all part of the dualistic thinking of the human mind, of your human perception, of your human frame of reference. So that's why I mean this is quite a radical statement. It puts everything upside down, all the beliefs that you held with an idea of a father. Maybe a father that you have never known. Maybe a father that left. Or maybe a father that wasn't really there. Or who knows what your story is. But all that is based on an idea of a father that is not your father. So you cannot lose your Father, since He is your Creator. He created you as a son of Him, like you're so one with Him that literally the borders are indistinguishable. Like there's no place where you end and where God begins. There's no place where you are separate from your Father. And so this basic and absolutely fundamental idea is so deeply, totally comforting. So that's so good to remember. Say, training ourselves to become present in the moment, this is a really good one. So you can translate the 7 steps too then to, this is literally the pillars of your being, of your the totality of who you are. You are one with your Father. I and my Father are one, and that's happening in me. There's no place where God is not, where my Father is not. I come home in Him. Okay, so that is the first. And the second I already don't remember anymore, so now I got to read this. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So that's the second one. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, by recognizing that everything that is a part of the universal and is possession of the universal. So everything that is part of the universal. That means there's no place where God is and you are not. No, this is one, you're a whole part of God. So that means also there's no separate parts. There are no separate parts. There's no say, limit to that. But see, the whole idea of possession becomes ridiculous, so to speak, because there's no possessiveness in this relationship. No, if you cannot distinguish between you and your Father, how could there possibly be an idea as possessiveness? So why is this word possessiveness being used? Well, Joel uses that for a very specific reason. And the reason is this, it's like the human relationship, the relationships that you know, it's like always have to do with some kind of possessiveness. Like you belong to me. No, this one does not belong to me. That one belongs to me. That one is mine. This one is not mine. And I don't want to have to do anything with that one. So this is what you do as a human being again. You know, it's like your human frame of reference is like full of possessiveness and distinction. So also then comparison. Well, comparison is like the one best tool of the ego mind, if you want. Comparison, analysis, and all that. So this, what we're talking about, the Lord and the fullness thereof, so to speak, is completedness, is wholeness. There is no distinction. There's nothing that can analyze. There's nothing that can calculate. There's nothing that can compare, compete. No, this is about your wholeness. And that is another big one in this. So it's like facets of the diamond that we were talking about earlier, say some time ago. The other day. So it's all facets of the same brilliant diamond, or brilliant. So here's another one then. The wholeness. Yeah, the fullness thereof. Totality. Father. Wholeness. So I'm very curious what the third one will be. The glory which I had with thee before the world was, is still mine. Okay, so that's also great to remember. like especially in our human, say, spirituality and our human transformation, what you could call your spirituality or your spiritual path, this is really essential to recognize too. It's like, this is a remembrance. That's why I say, like, it's a present memory. It's a remembrance of who you are. And the remembrance of who you are has to do with, you never lost that. You just lost your way for a moment, maybe. You got stuck in your own labyrinth of complexity, or your labyrinth of analysis. You made it so difficult for yourself, and you started to believe your ideas. You forgot to laugh about it. You literally took it very serious, up to the point that you really thought that your separation was real and that there was no escape out of it. But then in the third facet of this brilliant diamond that we're actually looking at today, with 7 sides, 7 steps. So this is another one. Before you are perfect. Your detour, your sliding off into separation, into the idea of separation, temporarily, did not harm the oneness with your Father. So it's still there. The memory is still there. It is, you carry it with you wherever you go. So once the, say, the veil is lifted, the veil of denial is lifted, you can see clearly again. You see, oh yes, oh you experience, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm one with God. It never changed. Nothing has happened. Like, I'm right here, present in this. The love of God is literally flowing through me in this moment. It never stopped. I only was in a dream, a temporary dream in which I experienced a nightmare. But luckily I'm waking up out of that. And I never lost what I always took with me. I never lost that. I cannot lose that, because since I am one with my Father, I cannot lose it. So it's so simple and fundamental, but so good to remember and so great to remember. And I was like, yeah, who doesn't want to remember this? It's so great. It's uplifting. It is comforting. It is real. You know, that's the most important part. It's real. So let me see, what is the 4th? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Now we are recognizing that Christ or the world is greater than any condition or circumstance that may arise in the manifest world. So he's here on the edge of it, for the beginners, so to speak. So it's like you either recognize the Christ or you recognize the world. So wait a minute, the first sense, he that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. So you can say, translating this, I'm taking the freedom to do that. So it's either you are experiencing yourself as the Christ, or you're experiencing yourself as nothing, as as an idea about yourself, an empty shell. So you're either in Christ recognition, or you're not there. You're literally nothing. You're literally, something you made up, which has no reality and which you don't need any longer. So he that remembers is alive. he that does not remember is dead. It's like celebrating death. So this is the fourth step that we're looking at, also a facet. So it's like you recognize the Christ in yourself in the spiritual path. You start to recognize the Christ in yourself. And that sounds like a beautiful word in that sense. But what it actually means is what we said in the first step too. It's like there's no it's not possible to distinguish between you and your Father. You're a whole part of this. You're a whole part of God. And that's all. That is all. Literally, that is the only thing there is. The rest does not exist. The rest is just an echo in your perception that keeps repeating itself until you're done with it, until you don't value it. But it's a repetition of an echo. So a sound is made, but this is an echo. It's not even a sound itself, it's the echo of a sound. And it's, in that sense, it's nothing. It's like a shadow. So you can see this too with the seeing through the glass darkly, seeing through this mirror darkly, like it is somewhere in one of the letters. Like seeing through a glass darkly. But when you awaken this Christ in you, when you realize the fact that you are whole as you were created, like literally like whole and one with your Father, then your whole body will be full of light. You will start to see your spiritual eyes opening up. Okay, so the fifth. I and my Father are one. That is, my consciousness is divine, infinite, eternal, universal consciousness, individually expressed. Life is life, mind is mind, and mind is whole. Life is life. Life is not existence, life is life. Universal consciousness, individually expressed. Universal consciousness, say subjectively experienced. You experience that in your way, exactly right. It's individualized in you as a subjective experience of the singularity, of the wholeness that is you. I and my Father are one. So that is your that is your experience of yourself. So it's individually expressed as a singular subjective experience, as a universal experience for every one of us. You can say it like that too. So not to make any distinctions, not to say like, well, it's for me, it's not for you, or you have to be Christian in order to accept this, or you have to be Christian in order to experience this, or whatever, or you have to be a Muslim to experience this, or who knows what. No, this is beyond all of the distinctions between spirituality in diversity. It's like, no, this is the universal experience of you experiencing the direct communication with what you are, with the wholeness of what you are. See how fundamental this is? It is a beginner's class in that sense. But that's so good, because we're all beginners. We start to experience this. We start to discover what this actually means. And we come into great experiences with it because of it is the only natural experience that you can have. Being a human being is not natural, and you know that. That's why you are looking for something else, so to speak, in the limitation that you perceive in your life. You're looking for something else. You continuously ask for it, in fact. You scream for it, or you forget about it, and then you remember it, like, oh my God, oh, I gotta be still. I gotta pray right now just to be aware that this is my reality and nothing else. It's like, no, that has no substitute. So either I'm experiencing this or I'm experiencing nothing, literally. He that is without sin, this is the 6th step. He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone. Only the consciousness that can see itself sinless, pure and perfect, can see the harmony and wholeness of his neighbor. And under no circumstance must there be condemnation of self or another, because the Christ self, which is the only self, must be seen as here and now. He that is without sin among you, let him first cast the stone. So that is great too. Even in our spirituality, in our starting our spiritual journey, or so continuously, this is about not distinguishing like I'm further ahead than you, or I'm better at this than you, or I know more about this than you. Like, the comparison is completely not necessary. It's absolutely not helpful for yourself in this. So, forgiveness, letting go. It's like you recognize, in fact, you start to recognize that you are the one who is perceiving this, that you don't need to correct anyone, that you don't need to show to anyone that you know better. No, none of that. So that's so great. It's so laid back in that sense. It's so literally for you. You accept this for yourself. This is all that you need to do. In that, everything is arranged because, hey, when you remember who you really are, you're fulfilling your function. And how does that look? Do you have to open an office for healing? Might be, who knows, but it's not necessary that it will look that way. No. So it's so individually how that works. And it's not that it immediately puts you to some kind of function that you think that you should have. So that makes it so easy. Like, this actually helps you to come in touch with an idea of, say, guidance. So you will receive what to do, where to go, who to talk to, and all this. You will receive that by coming in communication with your Creator. What do you think? He will not direct you. He will not support you. He will not be there for you. Absolutely. So that means that He is there when you ask a question like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do today? I don't know what to do with myself. What am I supposed to do today? Or whatever question you have. Like, He's with you. You're one with Him. And recognizing that or experiencing that, you feel the joy of that communication. And in that, like, it doesn't even seem to matter what you are doing. You cannot be in the wrong place. So there's peace in your mind when you experience this. So this is really the goal of the spiritual path as we practice it right now. The goal is peace of mind. Peace of mind. Well, that is pretty unique if you look at yourself. Like, so how many moments during the day do you walk around with literally an experience of peace in your mind, where you don't have a conflict about anything, but really feel connected and say fulfilled and full of grace? So I might have spoiled a little bit the last step then. So, oh yeah, here it is. My grace is sufficient for thee. My grace is sufficient for thee. Rest in the consciousness of divine perfection, universally and individually expressed. Rest in the consciousness that infinity and eternality and harmony of divine being are forever expressing as man and the universe. My grace is sufficient for thee. Rest in the consciousness of divine perfection, universally and individually expressed. So that's a distinction, universally and individually expressed. Like, does that mean then that there's an individual and a wholeness? Like, no. So there's a universality in all of this. You have your own individual experience of that. So it's individually expressed in your experience, in your awareness. See, you cannot avoid, say, projecting some say limiting thoughts on it. You know, when I say individualized, you already start to look at it as if it is a personal sense of self or something like that. Like, no, that is not the case. So you got to see it like this. This might just be, it's like an analogy. It's like you cannot distinguish between the waves in the ocean. So the wave is individually expressed, but it's still part of the ocean. So the universality then would be the ocean, and the wave is then, the individual expression, changing form continuously, not static at all. It's dynamic, it's moving, it's alive. See, but to try to understand this with a human frame of reference is missing the actual experience. So I'm not encouraging for you to understand this at all. So, but yes, to become open, to receive this as an experience for yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So these are the 7 steps that Joel is giving us. Giving the beginners. That's us. The beginners on the path. Say, ready for a new, say, completely new experience of this in this present moment, in this here and now. So that's what Joel is offering us and reminding us of, because this is a memory. It's like a present memory of what is. So this is actually what I wanted to share with you, and so because this is really related to the book. So in the class we continue, online class, we continue with, hey, how is this working, or what is coming up for you to share, or who knows what. So thank you so much for your presence here, for your being completely, say, present in this. Thank you for that, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.